good morning, or more appropriately, good afternoon. It is fairly late in the day again. I'm still sick as a dog. Don't feel that good, and but figured I'd at least try to get something recorded. So should be. I'll see what I can do. Ugh. I gotta get some food in me and some liquids. Lunch. Starting with something simple because I do not feel good and have an upset stomach. You gotta come forward a little bit. Like, stand right here next to me. There we go. So we have a special guest today. Somebody has had a baby. Yeah? Did you just come home from the hospital with that?
No.
No? It showed up in the mail? The stork dropped it off?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? What's its name?
Lulu.
Lulu? Is it a boy or a girl? Is it a boy or a girl?
Girl.
Girl? Okay. It's very cute. Are you going to take good care of it?
Yeah.
Yeah? I hope so. It costs Daddy enough. Are you going to let your brothers put magic markers all over them? No? Okay. Well, it's very beautiful. Lulu is a very pretty baby girl. Are you going to sleep with Lulu at night?
Yep.
Yeah? How much you want to bet I'm going to go in there and find Lulu on the floor because you were like, no! And kicked Lulu out of the bed. Yeah? You think so? I don't know. We'll see. Well, congratulations on Lulu. Yeah. All right. Bye. Say bye, honey. No, use your words.
Bye.
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 So part of today is actually testing out a new microphone. I got 2 copies of the Rode VideoMic Pro. I know it's not the VideoMic Pro. The reason why it's not the VideoMic Pro is because I don't want to have to do batteries. The VideoMic Pro is a little limited because it does not send a significantly boosted signal to the camera, so I still have to pretty much record with auto. You know, the mic pre and the camera is, you know, for Canon DSLRs is utter and complete crap. But today will be the first day where I'm shooting everything on both cameras. So on my SL1, I also have a VideoMic Pro attached, and both of them are set to auto for sound recording, simply because that, through my own experimentation, that's actually the cleanest sound I can get. If I go to manual and I set it to manual and if I set it to manual and turn the gain down to where the noise is not just utterly atrocious, I don't get very good sound at all. To a degree, I almost get better sound out of the built-in microphone in the front of the camera. It actually does a shockingly good job. But with the VideoMic Pro, I'll be testing it out here with my sound recording set to auto. Like I said, if I set it to manual, the only way I can get it to where my noise floor is even remotely low enough to where it's not obnoxious, I get almost no sound of me talking. So setting it to auto lets me kind of get a combination of both. The noise floor is still there, but it's not too atrocious. If you're listening on speakers and not in headphones, you don't really notice it so much. But as soon as you're put headphones on, it's obvious that it's there. So this does introduce a couple of other issues, like, for example, you know, if I shake the camera, do just enough shake like this, where the microphone is you know, vibrates a little bit in its little holder, it does introduce a fair amount of other extraneous noises, even though it's supposed to have this little you know, isolator thing. I might have to come up with a better isolation or a better way to isolate it. But other than that, you know, I'd really like to get it a little bit lower profile, maybe come up with a holder where I can mount it directly to the hot shoe and much lower profile, so it sits a lot lower, so it's not as obvious. And if I can't, you know, totally isolate it from handling noise, then I'd rather just have the microphone directly attached in a much more sturdy fashion. Anyway, so that's kind of where that's at. Hopefully it will eliminate or reduce a lot of the extraneous noise. Like right now in the rest of the house, there's a lot of stuff going on. It should be quite a bit less than if I didn't have the Video Micro, but there's only one way to tell. So, and that is to actually record stuff, which is what I'm doing right now. So anyway, that's kind of where it's at the moment, and I'm feeling a little better today, this afternoon, but not significantly so. But we'll see how the rest of the day goes and into tomorrow. It's after 3 p.m., so it's pretty late in the day. We'll see how it goes. Did UPS leave you on the door?
Yeah, she dumped this box in the something like this. Huh? UPS leaked in the door? He said yes.
Wow.
UPS leaked in my door, huh?
Somebody just woke up from a nap.
Yeah, he just wake up.
All right, so I figure I'll use this episode as an opportunity to do some noise tests. So here we are at ISO 800, and I'm not going to test anything below ISO 800 on the T3i because it's very clean below that. And even ISO 800, in my view, is acceptably clean. 1/40th of a second, and then we'll step up to ISO 1600, 3200, and 6400, and we'll stop the lens down a stop at each spot just to test how much noise gets introduced at ISO 800 and above. Like I said, I'm not going to bother with anything below ISO 800 because frankly it's more than clean enough even at ISO 800 for video. So this is the first test, ISO 800. All right, ISO 1600. The noise on the viewfinder anyway doesn't look bad. We'll see what it looks like once we get it into post. ISO 3200. It should be noted that all of these are using the ProLost flat picture style on the Canon T3i, and the ProLost flat picture style is basically you go to the neutral picture style to start with, you turn contrast all the way down, you turn sharpness all the way down, and you turn saturation 2 clicks to the left, and that's the ProLost flat picture style. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. ISO 6400. So this is a test of ISO 6400 to see where it's at. I think I'm going to do the same thing with the Canon SL1, or otherwise known as the 100D in other parts of the world. Both of these cameras, the T3i and the SL1, both shoot 330 megabytes a minute, which is nearly 50 megabits a second, H.264. It's one of the highest bit rates, IPB bit rates out there. The only cameras where you can get a higher bit rate, are the 70D and the 5D Mark III and the 7D Mark II. And those cameras, the only time the bitrate is higher is if you do the all-I H.264, and then it's 600 plus megabytes a minute. But you're basically effectively more than 15 times the required data rate, and it's only 3 times the bit rate. So the picture actually doesn't look better than shooting 330 megabytes a second IPB. And in terms of editing, it doesn't matter. Okay, this is the Canon SL1. We're shooting at ISO 800 and 1/40th of a second, using the same lens as on the Canon T3i, otherwise known as the 600D. So this is basically ISO 800. I would expect it to look quite a bit cleaner than the T3i at everything else being equal. So it should be interesting to do a comparison between the two of them. The Canon T3i at ISO 1600. Again, this is shooting with the ProLost picture style, which basically starts with a neutral picture, turns contrast all the way down, sharpness all the way down, and saturation 2 clicks to the left. So it's a really common picture profile. Again, it's not the best out there, but it's definitely really good. Okay, this is the Canon SL1 at ISO 3200. Again, I would expect it to be really, really clean compared to the T3i. But only time will tell once we get it into into Premiere Pro. Okay, this is the Canon SL1 at ISO 6400. I would expect it to look quite a bit cleaner than the Canon T3i at 6400. So should be pretty interesting to see what it looks like once we get it into Premiere Pro. Alright, now this is a bonus. This is the Canon SL1. It does in fact support recording up to ISO 12800 in video mode. So this is ISO 12800 on the Canon SL1, otherwise known as the 100D. Looking at it on the back screen on the camera, I can in fact see visible noise, so I would expect it to be fairly noisy, but it's there in case you need it if it's a super low light. Coincidentally, we are shooting this with a shutter speed of 1/40th of a second, so it's the same between both of the cameras, and where our aperture is set at f11. So, and this is with only a couple of 100 watts of light here in the office. So, you know, you could easily shoot at ISO 800 or lower if you have a reasonably fast lens and have a really good looking picture. So should be interesting to see in terms of how acceptable the video noise and video grain is at the higher ISOs. So we'll get this into Premiere Pro and take a look at it. Okay, now this is just a basic test. I reset the ISO to ISO 800 and 1/40th of a second and left the shutter, or left the aperture where it was at the 12,800. And so this is just to show how much range the camera has. Everything should be pretty well underexposed, and then as you go and crank the aperture open on the lens, you'll notice that you know, that's basically from f11 to f8 to f5.6 to f4 to f2.8 to f2. 5 stops of dynamic range is what I basically just let in. So it's quite a bit of range, to say the least. And anything like I said, anything below ISO 800, I'm not even bothering to test on both of these cameras because they're impeccably clean. Even at ISO 800, it's pretty acceptably clean. So I'm not doing any video noise, denoising, or anything like that, even at ISO 800. Even though a lot of people are like, oh, ISO 800, I would never shoot it at that. And it's like, yeah, but with video, when you have moving stuff, you don't really notice the noise. It's there, but if you expose properly, you never really see it. All right, I'm going to sign off for today, even though I haven't really done much video collection other than some of the test shots that I did. But I am not feeling so hot, and it's reasonably late enough in the day that I just don't care at this point. So I will see all of you tomorrow.